show up on the side, just doesn't show up in the middle.
There we go. Welcome, welcome, welcome to In the Feed Zone. We are 2 minutes away from the rollout, making sure we're doing 1.8 on the leader today. Welcome to all our riders. We got 13 riders in the pen today. About 5 seconds from the live stream. It's about to roll here. We got 2 minutes till we roll out of the pen. Try to send messages out. Easy. Heavy. 1.8 watts per kilogram. Good. Good, good, good. About a minute 38 till we roll out. New mini map. Good. We are here in the pen. About a minute and 28 till we roll. Get everybody grouped up together. For those that are on the stream, thanks for joining us. Those that are on Discord, thanks for holding in. We got just under 20 riders. Going to be going a steady 1.8 here. If you have any questions here, definitely cut out. Music off here. There we go. About 1 minute to go to roll. 17 riders in the pen. Remember, we're going 1.8 watt per kilogram. Keep it steady. I'm on the bike today. Try not to drop me. We're going for about 30 minutes. We got a pretty quick and easy conversation to have. Allow us to chat, talk about a periodized approach, carbohydrate intake, between training, racing, time off the bike, resting. So we'll keep that all in mind as we make our way through our conversation today. About 20 seconds here to go. Looks like we're going to top out around 17 riders here as we roll out, get everything grouped up, shared out. Should be good. There we go. Let's see what this looks like. Nice and easy. Good. Looking good. Group is looking good here. All right. Keep it nice and steady, nice and easy, all together. Let's get this shared out and we'll get started. The train says it's ready to go. A couple chairs to be to our partners. It's ready to go. Cheers to be to our partners. It's ready to go. Off. Sorry about the feedback there. All right. Okay, move over to our slides. Okay, we got it. Welcome to In the Feed Zone. My name is Jason Flores. I'll be taking you through this nice conversation here. My name is Jason Flores. I'm from and I ride with Team ODZ, here known as J-Flow, here on Swift. I'm here to talk a little bit about fueling, hydration methods, and just kind of the mainstream media, different things we hear about. Quick medical disclaimer before we get started, that the only purpose of this live stream is to educate and to inform, and it's not a substitute for professional care by a doctor or any other qualified medical professional, and provided on the understanding that it doesn't constitute medical or professional advice or services. Quick goal of the live stream is to present current articles in the media covering food and hydration, how it relates to endurance sports, and open a dialogue for viewers to ask questions, to talk and get advice about experiences. So, tap into my slide. Here it is. So today's topic today, periodized approach to carbohydrate intake during training and racing. An article brought to us by Training Peaks. So really interesting information get filtered through the Training Peaks blog. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Really good information there. Let me see if I can get this group backed up. All right, okay. So, yes, getting set up and getting your goals set, and a lot of times we're trying to think about how we should fuel for our best performances, and a lot of times people take kind of a one-shot-all approach to training and racing. That goes along with fueling and making sure that they're fueled for their workouts. So a lot of times they just do the same thing over and over. So today we're going to chat a little bit about how you can change that up, how you can maximize your performances by doing different things that will allow you to get some gains. So there's a couple different ways to kind of approach specifically carbohydrate intake. And this is coming on the heels of our conversation last week of different carbohydrates and when to use them. So now we're going to talk about, now that we know that we need to vary our carbohydrate use, we can talk a little bit about when to use it, when to restrict it to get the most gains in our training. So a couple approaches we have are train low, train smart, different race day strategies that we have, and then what to do during tapering. So take our time, make our way through. Got a nice group here. Got quite a few riders off the front, but looks like a good amount of them are coming back. Try to hold a nice steady 1.8 here. All right, so we'll talk a little bit about the train low approach. This is a time where you probably heard of, where you can restrict carbohydrate intake and you can get enhanced training adaptations during this train low period, time where you're not taking in a lot of carbohydrates. So the goal of this time is to enhance fat metabolism or essentially aerobic engine. And so during this time, we already have a good understanding of race day fueling during these training adaptations. And so what we've done is we've taken that away from ourselves to allow adaptations in our body to kind of forcefully use other fuels that are on board. So the benefits of going into a training session with this low level of carbohydrate is essentially the training of of the body to use the energy systems that are on board and to kind of forcefully be able to use that when it gets low in the race situation. The problem is there are some negative implications or negative things that can happen if you're always doing it this way. A lot of times riders will take an idea like, oh, it's good to train without carbohydrates on board. So they'll drill workout after workout after workout. And what will happen is your intensity is unlikely to kind of maintain that high level if you are always training at this depleted carbohydrate level. So really, you're looking at low timing, meaning shorter work in order to keep this higher intensity, just because the primary energy source during high intensity work is carbohydrate. So the intensity does have to stay low. The other negative thing that can happen is your immune system can be suppressed if you're doing, in fact, high anaerobic threshold work, kind of those high-end works, because the muscle breakdown, or the immune system, sorry, is just so taxed. The body is so taxed during these sort of efforts. The other thing that can happen is muscle breakdown is increased because the body is looking for energy stores to be able to fuel itself. So it just goes over time. So doing this for a long period of time could be detrimental, but using it strategically, as we'll find out in the next section, could be useful. So the last bit of it is training at this low carbohydrate level constantly could also make it so that the body is less efficient at utilizing carbohydrate and effectively during those high intense exercises, decreasing your essential top end. So there's a time and a place for this sort of thing. And I think it's important to understand when that is. And let's explore more of that. So essentially that'll move us on to an approach that overcomes some of these negative periodized by taking a periodized approach to this intake. And that brings us to the train smart approach. So taking our understanding, the positive and the negative aspects of training in a low carbohydrate state, it recommends that an athlete fuels for the work that's required. So for a specific workout, carbohydrates can be restricted, aiming to enhance that training adaptation. For example, long endurance rides, not a lot of effort, not a lot of fuel. So, but when the goal is to perform at the highest workload possible, or like high anaerobic threshold intervals, a restricted carbohydrate isn't as appropriate. Along with sessions lasting 60 to 90 minutes or less, or more, definitely need wanting carbohydrates on board. If it's shorter, there's definitely a benefit. If the intensity is low or even up to moderate, for those that do zone training, that's up to zone 3 or sweet spot, training low is actually beneficial. The one thing in the endurance lab we talk about is that you're able to do fasted workouts or low carb or train low sessions at 60 minutes all the way up through SST, allowing your body to really feel those benefits right at that edge of aerobic use. So there's a couple strategies depending on your day, depending on kind of what works for you and how you train. There's the sleep low, train low idea, which uses overnight carbohydrate restriction, followed by a moderate morning session. So for a lot of us ODZ riders, ride hard. Actually, this would be opposite. This would be like our UK riders. That would be like easy morning, hard afternoons. They're usually on with us in the afternoon. That means you go into the evening with a low carbohydrate amount, either do a moderate or rest active recovery in the morning and high intensity interval in the afternoon, and then essentially consuming carbohydrates just all during the day. So pretty tough. If you have a 9 to 5, a lot of those that work out midday have that opportunity. Sleep low, train low could be useful because you wake up and you train low and get your high intensity workout in the evening. One that may work for some riders is twice a day sessions. And essentially it's suggesting training twice a day, every other day, rather than every day. And the second session of a day is a train low session. That means you have a high intensity interval day in the morning, followed by following the first session. And then after that, you are restricted your carbohydrates and you do a low intensity workout later in the day and into a rest day. So that's definitely a way to approach it. So during this train low session, carbohydrates should be restricted, and the consumption of carbohydrates during training seems to get these enhanced training adaptations. So the other thing during these train low sessions, making sure you have an adequate amount of protein rather than completely fasted, it definitely help recovery, help that achy feeling that you could easily have. So keeping that in mind, not completely just fasted all day. I'll come up with a couple examples here. And the other thing is considering caffeine consumption before train low sessions appears to increase this exercise performance. A little bit more on that and kind of how it works kind of in practice. You're looking at kind of your, let's say, morning session of high intensity, You would fuel, like for our morning session, a lot of us do that here, and you're able to fuel before, during, after. You could easily go fasted, meaning lower carbohydrate consumption for snack, lunch, into the evening. You could drop in a second session in the evening of something like an aerobic zone 2, zone 1 recovery session afterwards in the evening of that same day if you like. Or you could just stay low carb the rest of the day, entering into the next day of training and repeat. Essentially, you're low the rest of the day, but you bump up the carbohydrates before, during, and in that post-recovery workout period, just around your training. Otherwise, we make smart nutritional decisions that allow us to keep our carbohydrate counts low, as well as benefiting from the carbohydrate use during our workouts. And when we have the opportunity to throw in a workout like the ride just before this, the Friday EBB ride, or the Divas 2.2 ride, it allows us to utilize those stores. A great way to go in is, for example, on a Sunday where we have Odie's entry, got hours and hours of endurance ride. You could jump on that as a low in a low state, and see how you do, see how your body reacts, and how long you can go in that lower intensity, 2.5, 3.0, whatever your pace is for that weekend. So definitely approaches that can work. Thinking it smart versus thinking like, oh, I worked out today and I could just hit, high carb all day, but just keeping it close to and around your workouts will definitely help. So moving on to some race day strategies. When we're looking for maximal performance and during high intensity, whether it be intervals or racing, a high carbohydrate intake is key and is really important. Since carbohydrate is a primary energy source for high intensity exercise. So a lot of times there's a belief that days and days of carbohydrate loading is needed, but in recent studies, a single day of carbohydrate loading is just effective as 3 days. Therefore, the day before a race, something like 8 to 10 grams per kilogram, primarily of a high glycemic index, something that's got a good amount of a spike in carbohydrates, like energy gels or white rice, potatoes, things like that, can definitely, get you what you need. 8 to 10 grams is a lot. So for 73 kilogram rider, that's 160 pounds, looking at like 720 grams of carbohydrates the night before, separated over that 12-hour period. That ends up being a whole lot of carbohydrate the day before. So definitely a challenge and something worth trying the day before a race, just because taking in that much could be really difficult. So practicing and knowing that you can hold on to that is useful. All right, let's see. And then kind of our rounding out topic is what to do during tapering. So when we taper the 2 weeks before a big event or a short taper before a big race, to maximize performance and carbohydrate loading, both the training as well as the carbohydrate amount could be tapered or decreased during that time in the 2 weeks prior to a reduction in the training volume. The final training sessions, we're looking at being in the afternoon or the evening 2 days prior to race day. And then at that point, carbohydrate loading can begin as the post-meal training and moving forward. So taking an approach that allows you to taper the training, increase the carbohydrate loading as you get closer to a big event. And then on race day, being careful of a couple things, staying away from large quantities of things like fiber, so green leafy vegetables, proteins, stuff that's hard to break down. You're looking at things that are quick carbohydrate easy to consume. So the other consideration to have is the pre-race meal should contain some carbohydrate. However, this is very individual. Since you've sufficiently loaded the day before, it doesn't have to be something that's super high in carbohydrate, since you should be pretty topped out. You're just looking to put a little bit back in. The last consideration is during races, and we've talked at length about different alternative sources of energy during, and you should be consuming anywhere from 30 to 60 grams of carbohydrate, depending on how you practice this during the race, to replace that glycogen, enhance recovery after those workouts or rides. So kind of putting it all together, these train low sessions should really only be used for moderate or low intensity training, lasting 60 to 90 minutes, making sure you've got a good amount of protein on, whether it be beforehand or for even recovery, rather than being completely fasted. Also, considering if you do well with caffeine, 20 minutes beforehand. But remember, intensity is key. Trying to go out for, the hourly WBR race, fasted, and doing 1, 2, 3 of those races a day would really put a dent into your training and forcing you to really have to recover. So on the flip side of that, carbohydrate loaded performance sessions, you're looking at high intensity training sessions that last longer than 60 minutes, longer than 90 minutes, and for events even longer than 90 minutes, you're looking at 8 to 10 grams per kilogram of body mass of a high glycemic index, both the day before or the day before race day. Then during, you're looking at what we're finding, 30 to 60 grams of carbohydrate every hour during the race. So whether you taper that in 20 grams every 20 minutes, you do it every 45, these are things that you can test, train, and practice. That's the great thing about Zwift. You can simulate a lot of those before you go outdoors and get that all sorted out. And then afterwards, we're looking at 1.2 grams per kilogram of body mass of carbohydrate following high intensity or long duration. So these are times where we're locking up all the carbohydrate use around when you train, and the rest of the day you're laying off or using as essentially a low carbohydrate day, being very mindful of those times and those of what you're putting in, essentially. So a quick overview of a periodized approach, essentially understanding when to use low carbohydrate sessions for those lower intensity. Do you really need, get all fired up, preloaded for, the EBV ride with sprints, or even the OD's entry for that matter, which is at a steady pace, or any of the Zwift Academy endurance rides. And then considering for the workouts, which I just finished, one of the extended over-unders, at about 90 minutes, high intensity, making sure that carbohydrate is on board and is loaded. So making sure we understand the train low approach and essentially taking that one step further and being smart about that approach, finding out when you can use that to your advantage depending on your schedule. Talk a little bit about race day strategies, what you could do and get ready for race day. And then during the tapering session, how it can make a difference in as we taper down our workouts. We could also taper down our carbohydrate intake to be able to load it the day before. And very interesting information there. So if you want more on this topic, find more at trainingpeaks.com/blog. A lot of good information. If you have any articles that you see or that you'd be interested in us talking about more here in the feed zone, let us know. I'm more than happy to kind of look at that and delve into that. Looking over to our social media, pretty quiet today. Got a lot going on in the live stream world. We've got one of our own commentators from Swift Live actually in Paris today on the ground doing commentary for some of the preliminary races for CVR. So for those that came dialed in today, thank you for joining us in. If you have any questions, I'll be on here. Nothing on social media today. Looking pretty good otherwise.
I have a question.
Sure, Quan. Aren't you in Las Vegas? Not yet.
In a couple hours.
All right. What's up, bro?
Who's the cutest guy in ODZ?
Oh, Quan. Oh God. I think if you watch the live stream this morning, Chris Haskell is looking pretty good in Paris today, man. He's looking good in the velodrome. So.
Cute in a fat way, right?
Huh?
Cute in a fat way?
He was in the satellite?
Juan, are you drunk? Have you been carb loading again?
Yeah, he's getting ready for this weekend.
I've been drinking those fermented grapes.
Fermented grape. What was that, Kevin?
That's carb loading.
All right. So with that, we'll leave you with Juan's cute face, and we'll go ahead and sign off here. We'll see everybody next week on In the Feed Zone, and everyone have a good weekend. Thanks for joining in.